This is one of the interpreters. We cannot hear you online. We can still not hear you.
The Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer is present. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Delahaney. Mr. Delahaney is present. Ms. Lovecchio Hoffman. Ms. Lovecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. President Lamar.
Here.
President Lamar is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Masula. Mr. Masula is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
I would like to introduce the Reverend James C. Simmons of Baber African Methodist Episcopal Church, who has been invited by me to lead us in the moment of prayer.
Beloved hearts, let us bow our heads in a word of prayer. Merciful and everlasting God, Lord, we pause to first give your name reverence, thanksgiving, and praise. We thank you, gracious God, for waking us up this morning and for starting us on our way. We thank you, Lord, for a reasonable portion of health and strength. We thank you, gracious God, that we're here clothed in our right minds. We thank you, God, that we have eyes to see and ears to hear, a voice to talk and legs to walk. Thank you, God, for roof over our head, for clothes on our back and a floor underneath our feet. And we thank you, gracious God, that you allow us to be co-laborers with you. For God, we recognize that you said in Genesis chapter 2 that you've called humankind to the earth to work the land and take care of it. And God, we know that when no one works the land and takes care of it, weeds grow in the land. When no one works the land and takes care of it, overbrush hides the beauty of the land. When no one works the land and takes care of it, flowers compete for nutrients. When no one works the land and takes care of it, the blood of our children spill in the streets. When no one works the land and takes care of it, crime runs rampant. When no one works the land and takes care of it, homelessness becomes pervasive. When no one works the land and takes care of it, this world is turned upside down. So thank you, God, for the call to work the land and take care of it. Thank you, gracious God, for the privilege of being co-laborers with you. Thank you, God, for allowing us to put our hands to the plow on behalf of the least of these. For what we've done to the least of these, we've done unto you. Help us to hear your voice, to do your will, to walk according to your will and your way. And we'll continue to give your name reverence, thanksgiving, and praise. And the children of God shout amen, amen, and amen.
Your copies of date 10, October 10th, 2023 are available through Notice Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are also available on Notice Agenda. There are 2 proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk?
Would members of the Penfield Fire Company please come forward? Also, Legislator Paul Dondorfer and President Sabrina Lamar.
Which one is it? The last one? Which 4? Whereas the Penfield Fire Company was started in 1910 by introducing a new water hydrant system in the town of Penfield with 47 volunteers. In 1929, the company reorganized, creating bylaws and defining leadership, allowing the company to expand its services to residents. And whereas currently the Penfield Fire Company is made up of 75 volunteers, servicing approximately 30 square miles, covering the town of Penfield and areas of the town of Perrington. The Penfield Fire Company responds to over 800 calls a year, encompassing an area of over 25,000 residents and businesses. And whereas this proclamation acknowledges the heroism and dedication of the Penfield Fire Company for their life-saving actions, the men and women of the Penfield Fire Company are members of our community who we depend on to come to our aid, whether that event be an automobile accident, home emergency, fire, or anything requiring immediate medical attention. And whereas the Penfield Fire Company came to the Penfield Volunteer Ambulance's assistance to treat a patient they could not access due to
Would Holly Anderson please come forward? Also County Executive Adam J. Bello and President Sabrina Lamar.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Holly Anderson. Whereas in 1999, Holly Anderson met the small and determined group of women who founded the Breast Cancer Coalition only 18 months prior, and in 2001, she assumed the role of executive director, humbly sharing her thanks for the opportunity to lead this important organization and acknowledging this was the opportunity of a lifetime. And whereas described by her colleagues as a gift to our community, Anderson's leadership grew the coalition from a single employee to a diverse, multi-talented staff of 12. Who provide support, education, and advocacy to those impacted by cancer. And whereas each year, with the help of over 400 active volunteers, the group serves more than 5,500 survivors, their family members, friends, and caregivers living in the aftermath of breast or gynecologic cancer diagnosis. And whereas during her time at the coalition, Anderson oversaw the development of a myriad of programs and services. She initiated breast cancer one-on-one sessions, personally counseling hundreds of women and men shortly after their diagnosis. She initiated Brown Bag Friday lunches and was a region pioneer introducing an intergenerative approach to healing and survivorship through such programs like gentle yoga, mindfulness and meditation, voices and vision, writing workshops, and many more. And whereas these accolades only constitute a fraction of the tremendous work Holly Anderson accomplished throughout her 22 years at the Breast Cancer Coalition, her colleagues, clients, supporters, and all of Monroe County joined together recognizing her as a beloved and dedicated leader who showed compassion, empowered the community, and created spaces for healing. And whereas the Breast Cancer Coalition is and will continue to be a trusted community organization because of the leadership and care of Holly Anderson, today we honor and thank Holly for her many years of dedicated service. Now, therefore, I, Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Executive, do hereby proclaim the 14th of November, 2023 to be a day to honor and celebrate Holly Anderson in Monroe County and call upon every resident to recognize and thank Holly Anderson for her unwavering commitment and leadership.
That's so nice. The letter said that I could say a few words, so never walk away from a microphone. I just want to say how wonderful it is to stand before you where you actually are smiling. The last time I actually stood at this podium was 2004 and 2005 and 2006, every month on Tuesdays to try to get the 48-hour neighbor notification law passed. We would have more than 100 people here to speak in favor of this law, and poor President Wayne Zyra stood and presided until after midnight. They started giving us 3 minutes, then they chopped it down to 2, and finally we were given 1 minute to make our argument, but we just kept bringing more and more people, scientists, researchers, parents impacted by this. And it was the most beautiful thing in 2006. It happened in 2005, but in 2006 is when it was signed into law, a bipartisan agreement on what would later become a wonderful shift to caring about the folks that live in our community. So thank you all so much. I admire you all greatly. I've seen some of you in Albany. I've seen many of you on the streets. I follow a lot of you on Twitter, and encourage you to move to Blue Sky and try that out too. Thank you so much.
There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk?
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds, and please exit through the back of the chambers over to my right. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Cora Ryorban, Carrie Ryorban, and Kent Rees.
Night. My name is Carrie Riordan, and I have been a resident of Fairport for 13 years. I'm an active member of Color Fairport Green. I'm grateful for that the county hired a director to implement the county climate action plan. This director needs additional people power to make any kind of dent in the environmental goals of Monroe County. I'm here, as many of us have been since the summer of 2022, to ask you to please move forward in building multiple food waste recycling facilities within Monroe County. Food waste composting is something everyone can do. I've taught preschool for the past 3 years, and each year, 3- and 4-year-olds learn that the food they don't finish can be composted. This has become such a part of their routine that when I forget to bring in the bin, they put their leftover snack in. They ask for it. If these young minds are learning this in school, but go home with no options to compost, then we're losing momentum. People want a way to feel like they are participating in helping slow climate crisis. Composting can become second nature and stop contributing to the 24% of organic waste that is taking up space in our landfills. Children in schools, families at home, stores, and restaurants can all play a part. But in order to do that, we need county support to be that multiple food waste recycling facilities, haulers, and people power to run it all. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to answer this? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Cora Riordan. I am 8 years old and I am here tonight to talk about compost in Monroe County. These are my thoughts and I wrote this myself. We should have the food that hasn't been opened be available for other. Oh, I missed a page.
It's okay.
First off, I would like to talk about how my school, Brooks Hill, throws all of the food that hasn't been eaten in the garbage, even though some of the food hasn't been opened. We should have the food that hasn't been opened be available for other students to eat. That way, it won't be wasted and fill up our landfills. For the food scraps, we should have a bin to collect for compost. That way, we could waste less food and it could be composted to make farmers' soil better to grow more food again. I know some parents have been trying to get composting in Fairport schools and it's taking a long time. But even if compost bins are achieved, there needs to be a facility to actually compost the food scraps. I want to compost because it can help our landfills become less full. It can give us better soil and our winters will actually have snow again. Our earth is warming because of greenhouse gas that is coming from the food waste in our landfills. I would like to say thank you for your time and hope that you will consider building compost facilities around Monroe County.
Oh. Hello, representatives. I'm Kent Reese. I'd like to speak in support of the RG&E study. Well, oh my goodness, I'm getting nervous. I'd like to speak in support of the study to replace RG&E with a public utility. I live in the neighborhood of the arts, but I used to live in Chilai. I lived there for a number of years while I was attending RIT. My RG&E bill while I was there was consistently around $100 until I moved and I got a bill in the mail for $500, which really threw my moving plans for a loop. Since moving, my bills have been sporadic, ranging from $14 to $200, making it impossible to plan around my monthly bill. My story is just one of many, but this pattern, I feel, indicates a lack of care, a lack of trust, and a lack of competence from RG&E. I don't trust RG&E or its parent company on our electric grid or to service our citizens. And I support the movement for two reasons. One, if successful, we don't have to depend on RG&E and its antics anymore. Our grid becomes our own, publicly accountable, transparent, and invested for our interests. We'd no longer be siphoning millions to a Spanish conglomerate that doesn't have our interests in mind. If the study fails, it nonetheless pressures RG&E to improve. It shows that our government advocates and goes to bat for us. It's a message that Monroe County is done messing around. I hope the legislature acts quickly and decisively to pass the study with the proposed $1 million in funding and sets up the study for success by involving citizens, advocates, and experts. Thank you for your time. This issue matters greatly to me.
Our next three speakers are Jessica Kilpatrick, Kevin Lockhart, Melissa Carlson.
Am I next or, oh, I'm sorry, I thought there was somebody else. Okay. I'm not here to tell you all that everything is going to be okay, because obviously it's not. Our city is less safe than ever. I have less confidence in this government than ever before. There's an overwhelming amount of problems out there that I don't think are being addressed. And in 319 days, New York State wants to cancel the special election that's being held. So I'm not going to tell you all that everything's going to be all right, but I do want to encourage you all to be courageous, regardless of what nonsense is approaching us already. The governor is sifting through the sewage to try and find COVID cases, to declare a state of emergency. That'll bring Bob Duffy in and he'll usurp the legislature here. So I think our right to public safety, especially in a lot of the neighborhoods that these people, these lawmakers don't even live in. You know, if they had to live in the neighborhoods that they represent, I wonder if things would be different. So I just wanted to leave you with a word of encouragement to be courageous this next year, regardless of what, you know, radical stuff comes our way. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Our next three speakers are Jacqueline Van Mohini Sharma, and Adam McFadden. Arnold, sorry, it wasn't my handwriting. I apologize.
Do I just start?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Van Arnold. I'm a homeowner in Arundecoit. I want to express my strong support for funding a study on public power. Recently, my neighbor met with an employee at RG&E to discuss concerns about a dead tree hovering over our power lines that she's not able to cut herself. He told her that in his 20 years of working there, he has seen since the purchase of a foreign investor, a significant decline in investment from RG&E, and he did not expect them to do anything until damage was already done. This experience highlights for me the lack of care RG&E has for our community. As a mother of a 1-year-old, I am constantly thinking about the world that she will grow up in, and I want my tax dollars going towards initiatives that will help make that future better. I don't think RG&E thinks about anything but their immediate profits, and I can't support that. Power that is run by our community will be inherently more invested in our future and our region, as well as the people that live here as compared to a foreign investor. Please fund a feasibility and implementation study and allocate up to $1 million for the study so we can see if a better way is possible. And make sure the study is set up to succeed by requiring community oversight by an advisory council that includes representation from Metro Justice, unions, and climate experts. This can and should be acted upon before the end of the year, since the city of Rochester has already given its support. Please fund this study now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'll keep it short and sweet, especially because many of you had heard plenty from me in the last few months. As a result of several months of tireless, diligent work by residents involved in the Red campaign, as well as county legislators, we've reached a moment of truth tonight. Look, everyone has had enough of RG&E. The public hates RG&E and wants a chance at a public utility. The city did its part in taking the RG&E crisis seriously and allocated $500,000 for a public utility study. All we're waiting for now is you, Monroe County, to join us in taking action. We're all practical people in our Red campaign that just want to do what's right for our community. We're not asking you to chase some pipe dream. We're asking you to investigate a solution based on the fact that 2/3 of all utilities in the country are public, and they offer better, more affordable, more climate conscious, and more locally invested service than private utilities. We're asking you to study what it would mean for Monroe County to have a public utility so that we can move forward based on facts and a plan recommended by experts. A public utility has so much promise for our residents and region, and studying a public transition is the least this county legislature could do. We deserve real answers after all we've endured and continue to endure from RG&E. I'd like to thank the legislators that have worked really hard to hear our proposals and whose courage is the reason there will be a vote tonight for you to allocate $1 million for a study and begin the process for a study that is comprehensive, objective, and transparent to the public. I thank those legislators specifically, but apparently I'm not allowed to do that. But no worries, you all know who you are. I hope the majority of you choose to back up rhetoric about representing your community with real action that shows you actually care. I hope the majority of you today decide to also have the courage to stand up to RG&E, abusive corporate monopolies, and status quo politics by voting yes on funding a public utility study. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to say, first of all, that I support the study as well, but I'm not here to speak on that. I wish I was. I'm actually here because I'm an employee at the Monroe County Children's Detention Center. Our contract expires on the 31st of December. I'm asking for the legislature and the county exec to consider three things. One, pay parity with the state. The workers at industry who work across the street do the same job as we do, but are paid much more. The only difference in the job is we have the kids before they're convicted of their crime and they have them after. The second thing I would ask is that they consider giving employees one mental health day a month. And to back up that claim, I would just ask members of the legislature and members of the county executives team to look at the staff attack videos that happen nearly weekly on staff. I myself, on my first week, was attacked. I wasn't hurt, but we are not given like billy clubs or pepper spray or anything. We have to talk down young people because they are children. But I would like to remind people, Mike Tyson knocked out grown men at 17 years old. We have kids who stay in their cell all day and do push-ups and sit-ups, and they're pretty active. And so the men and women that do the job face great danger. Even right now, we have a COVID outbreak on a unit right now where staff have to come in and work with these young people. And the final thing that I would ask that they consider is overtime for supervisors who are hourly. We have hourly supervisors who are mandated to work and do not receive time and a half. Those three things I think are important, and I would love for you guys to consider that. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Cheryl Frank, Vernon Kane, and Michael Marshall.
Good evening, folks. I'm here on behalf of the Poor People's Campaign. I am here to advocate on the RED campaign with Metro Justice and the feasibility study for a publicly owned utility. I just saw you folks not too long ago when I came and asked you to vote on behalf of this. And right after I spoke, two people got up and spoke on this against it. And one of them actually made very disparaging remarks about people in the community who support this. And I just want to say that the people that I represent and work on behalf of in the Poor People's Campaign, they're hardworking citizens, just like you are. And they go every day to work and they try their best to be productive citizens. And so all we're asking for is a feasibility study so that we can find ways to make it more equitable and livable for these people. And then the other gentleman that spoke was an actual candidate or an employee of RG&E. And he said to the community, trust me, we know what we're doing. We've been here for 75 years. They don't even know where Rochester, New York is, okay? They don't even know where Rochester, New York is. Now, I'm not here to throw mud, but all I'm saying that is in a representative government, we ask that you give us this consideration. We're taxpayers, we're voting citizens, and we would like to have our voices heard. So please fund this feasibility study. And I need to be home studying for finals right now. So I thank you for your time, but please vote accordingly.
Our next three speakers are Baldwin, excuse me. Tony Yanakos. And Eileen Wren.
Hi, my name is Zachlyn Baldwin and I'm 24 years old. I want to make the statement that you do not own your life if you do not own what you need to live. If you do not own your food, water, shelter, healthcare, and electricity, you do not own your life. Your life is being leased to you. This whole system is a system where our lives are leased to us because we have to pay for our food, water, shelter, healthcare, and electricity. But it doesn't have to be this way. Initiatives like public power put our lives back into our hands where they should be and where they haven't been since feudalism. When I think about the system we have now, it is still feudalism. Medieval feudalism has been replaced with corporate feudalism. It's the same shape, it's the same system, it's just a different context. It used to be the kings and queens and clergy on top. Now it is the CEO, shareholders, and executives. I want to say on behalf of Gen Z that this is not peak freedom. There is change that can still be made, and there is more freedom for all the generations that come after us to have. The American flag has meant for a while a lot of negativity, but I think about the first meeting of the American flag. It was the end of a monarchy. That's what the flag meant to me. At least what I've learned in history. I wasn't alive back then. And I believe just like how we ended the divine right of kings, we will end the reign of the capitalists. I believe that Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Gen Beta will end the control of the capitalists. Is that my time? Oh, okay. All right. Public power for Monroe County and for America.
Hi, my name is Tony Yanakos. I am a teacher at Monroe Community College. I teach math. I was married in Rochester. I went to school in Rochester. My kids were born in Rochester. And when I retired, I came back to Rochester because I love Rochester and Monroe County. What I try to do, one of my strong beliefs, is that we should support Rochester and Monroe County if we live here. Okay? I don't go to Starbucks. I go to the local diner because the person I know owns the local diner. When I don't want to shop for dry goods, I go to the local hardware store, not the chain hardware store. RG&E and I have very little to do with RG&E, but my students do. When we hit COVID, we had to go remote. Well, I lost 4 out of 10 of my students because they got your electric shut off because they couldn't work. I think we should have a public utility. I think it's consistent with the idea that we live in Monroe County. We should try to support Monroe County. We should try to bring profits from businesses in Monroe County. And I know some people are complaining that it's going to cost a lot to fund this study. $1 million. There's 750,000 people in Monroe County. That's a cup of coffee each. So I think we should fund this study and see to it that we get the information that we need to make sure that it will work. And if it works, why not support people who work here? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eileen Wren. I've been born and raised in Rochester, and I currently am a homeowner in Chi for 14 years. Billing and customer service issues with our RG&E are ongoing. There are widespread complaints on social media from customers throughout the county. I include myself as having multiple double billing issues and rate increases that are just phenomenal. I live alone in a ranch. I shouldn't have to pay $800 a month. During an interview last night, CEO Nielsen stated that they have hired more customer service representatives, but it takes time to train them. Haven't we heard that already several times? When you call them, their only assistance is a payment plan, completely missing the point. She also stated that if not satisfied, to call the supervisor or contact the corporate office. That's her solution. People are doing this already and are not getting anywhere. This is no longer a pandemic issue, and I'm tired of the excuses. I've spoken to a few Fairport Electric customers. Their bills range from $60 to $120 throughout the year. Just think what that would do for the local economy if all of your constituents had a similar provider having hundreds of dollars in their pockets. I urge you to allocate $1 million towards a study. And if you are truly working for the public, allow the community oversight to include Metro Justice experts, unions, and climate experts. Wouldn't it be nice to have what Fairport has? Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Raymond Banks, Terrence Snur, and Alice Carley.
Buenas noches. Le hablo español porque soy hispano. Yo no hablo inglés. Y estoy aquí por... Gracias. Estoy aquí porque estoy muy enojado con la compañía de electricidad, con sus facturas tan grandes, tan altas. Yo pagaba $150 al mes. Luego me lo subieron a $218 con algo de centavos. Ahora mismo estoy pagando $464 con 94 centavos. Y yo personalmente he ido, hablando español, con esta compañía en la calle que está aquí, en la 98, se me olvidó, en Main Street, algo así. Hablo español con la señora. Y mienten. Aunque hable español, me dijeron que un inspector fue a mi casa cuando nadie ha visitado a mi casa. Mienten. Yo le pregunté el nombre del inspector, el día, la hora. Oh, lo siento, señor. No podemos darles información. Esta compañía tiene que irse de Rochester y del mundo entero, y le urjo a ustedes que voten el $1.000.000 para iniciar el estudio, porque esto es un atraco a mano armada. Muchas gracias.
I'd like to begin with a disclaimer that this sermon was not written with the public utility study issue in mind, and I'm agnostically sympathetic about it. The DSA, in its endorsement of abstention in the county executive's race, got one thing right. The Democratic Party is fundamentally a liberal party. Liberals understand that progressive capitalist, constitutional Republican, liberal democracy is the worst system, except for all others ever tried. We want government to strive to make the system work better for everybody in the here and now. Adherents of latter-day Marxian sects believe that our system should be delegitimized, destabilized, and demolished in the pious delusion that a better system will rise upon its ruins. They subordinate the here and now to fomenting discontent they believe will deliver us to the promised land of revolution. So they thrive upon controversy. They adopt provocative slogans. They criticize policies without offering realistic alternatives. They make simplistic or grandiose proposals they know will not be accepted, so they can vilify those who reject them as not caring about the problems they purport to address. And when challenged, they play the victim. Madam President, I'm nearly done. Mainstream Democrats must recognize that 21st century Marxists are not, I'm nearly done, Madam President. You've been known to allow people to go on for 6 or 7 minutes. Modern day 20th century
there we go. My name is Alice Carley. I live in the 19th Ward, and I'm the council president of Metro Justice, so you know what I'm here for. I am hoping to be able to congratulate you later tonight on a vote to fund a thorough study of the feasibility of replacing RG&E with a publicly owned power authority, including how it should be run and decisions made, how the buyout of RG&E will be accomplished, and how the transition can be made efficiently, and ensuring that the whole process will be good for Rochester and Monroe County, offering cost savings, better upkeep and customer service system-wide, and better options for clean energy. That's what I'm hoping to applaud tonight. Next year, I hope to congratulate you on incorporating community, union, and climate expert voices and the deep research Metro Justice has already done on successful public power across the United States in creating the study. A year after that, I hope we will celebrate the success of the study in providing not only concrete evidence of the feasibility of public power, but also a clear blueprint for creating plans, rules, and RFPs that will work to the benefit of all residents rather than creating a new cash cow for a few developers. In another few years, I hope we will crack the champagne over a successful buyout and seamless transfer of power generation, distribution, and customer service. And 10 years out, I look forward to seeing that the transfer has paid for itself and Rochester and Monroe County are poised to help put solar panels on roofs and heat transfer pumps in place of gas and oil furnaces in homes and businesses across Monroe County, all supported by a smart grid that will support clean, distributed energy savings for all of us. What a journey. Let's take the first step tonight.
Our next three speakers are Susanna Garino, Dr. Michelle Wunderlich, and Darian Lehman.
Hello all. I'm Dr. Michelle Wenderlich, organizer and policy specialist with Metro Justice. I wanted to use my time today to clarify some process and other questions that have come up. Firstly, what is coming up to the floor tonight, hopefully for a vote, will be allocating funding for a public utility study. What still needs to happen after this will be commissioning the study through an intermunicipal agreement and vote on that agreement. Part of Metro Justice's priority is to make sure there is community and expert oversight of that study process. An advisory committee to this process would issue recommendations along with the RFP committee itself upon the result of the study. Part of the study contents will be recommending a governance process for the public utility and a charter for that utility. The governance of the study process and governance of a future public utility are separate questions. Secondly, you should have access to Metro Justice's draft for the request for proposals. Please let me know if you still need this. Our community needs a study that examines RG&E's value in its current state in Monroe County, designs a rate structure that pays off a buyout over time through rates while saving money still, provides a plan of service, including governance and management, and provides a cost-effective plan for grid resiliency and a green transition. We need this comprehensive analysis to make sure we're set up to succeed. Thirdly, some of you have brought up that the Fairport model is no longer available to us. I want to reiterate that one reason Fairport's rates are 1/3 of what RG&E's are per kilowatt hour is that they get preferential rates from the New York Power Authority. With the recent passage of the Build Public Renewables Act by New York State, there will soon be an expanded base of cheap renewable power to which public utilities have preferential rates. This, along with ease of funding for renewables from the Inflation Reduction Act, increases incentives for public utility to have access to these myriad cost savings, which we only have if we have a public utility. Overall, the choice is clear. The citizens of Monroe County are asking you all to act. Allocate funds for the study today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susanna Guarino, and I'm a resident of the city of Rochester. I'm here to ask the county legislature to vote yes on allocating money for a public utility study so that we can replace RG&E with a public utility. When I was renting a mid-sized 2-bedroom apartment in the city in 2022 before I became a homeowner, I suddenly received a $600 bill in September. I was confused but paid the bill. The next month, I received another $600 bill. My bills had never exceeded $150 previously. I called RG&E to ask about this and was told that my natural gas usage was off the charts in June of that year when my gas wasn't on. I had to call multiple times and, like everyone else, be on hold for at least 30 to 45 minutes each call. Eventually, an RG&E representative let me know the company had made a mistake. It took several more months and many calls before this was corrected. If I had not had extra money to pay ridiculous energy bills, I could have had my energy shut off. I'm here to share this story with you because while I am an economically privileged young professional, many of my neighbors and people I care about do not have those resources. A fraudulent bill from RG&E could lead to their power being turned off in the winter. Many of them do not have the flexibility in their schedules to call RG&E and fight their case multiple times over many hours, over many months. The people of Monroe County need a better solution, and there is one, taking over RG&E and replacing it with a public utility. The county legislature must allocate up to $1 million for an implementation study, which involves community oversight by an advisory council that includes representatives from Metro Justice, unions, and climate experts, and that is based around Metro Justice's draft questions for the scope of the study. The people of Monroe County support this study and are asking their representatives to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Darian Lehman. I live in the city of Rochester, and I'm here tonight to urge you to fund and commission a study to replace RG&E with a public utility. As a member of Metro Justice, over the last year, I've had a chance to hear stories of people from all across the county, all across the political spectrum, all of whom are looking for a real solution to the problem that is RG&E. We saw an unfortunate statement released in June after Rochester City Council approved funds for this study, saying that this whole process was going to be too complicated for Monroe County to handle. But unfortunately, without commissioning a study where we find out the facts and the data, that conclusion was really premature and short-sighted at best. The truth is, transitioning to public power is complex, and that's all the more reason to commission a study that tells us how we can do it right at a scale and with a governance model that allows us to reduce rates, improve service, strengthen existing union jobs and create new ones, and invest in the next generation of sustainable energy infrastructure that we all depend on. If public power can work for towns like Fairport and Churchville, if it can work for cities like the other Rochester, Minnesota, if it can work for the entire state of Nebraska, an implementation study can tell us how it can work for Monroe County. So please vote tonight to fund and commission that study for public power. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Amber Brown, John Kastner, and Ben Taylor.
Tonight, I'd like to speak about empowering Monroe County citizens. I know that every month you have people come to you with concerns about energy, helping people in crisis, or providing services to people who are experiencing homelessness. As our climate continues to change, my belief is that the number of voices asking for your leadership will only increase. On behalf of Color Fairport Green, I want to thank you for hiring a director to implement the county climate action plan. Thank you for beginning to look at options for organics processing in the county. It's a good start, but we need to do so much more and we need to do it faster. I am asking that you follow through with all of the support that the sustainability coordinator will need to get our communities ready now, whether that takes the shape of adequate funding, hiring additional staff, or helping to coordinate educational campaigns. My second request of you is to please help make it easier for your constituents to make sustainable choices. Specifically, I'm asking that you build many composting facilities in the county that would process organics into compost. Make it easy for every community. Make it easy for every municipality to say yes to this. I know that our sustainability coordinator can explain that the infrastructure required to turn organics into compost is fairly basic. Creating compost is easier and more equitable than methane capture, and anyone can utilize compost, whether in city community gardens, small household gardens, or even in houseplants. There are ways to make composting feasible for everyone, which would be a smart choice for climate and a smart choice to empower Monroe County residents. Individuals, businesses, schools, towns, and villages need your guidance. Truly, it should not be up to a group of unpaid volunteers to convince elected officials to make sustainable decisions. Our elected officials in Parenton know that we have been advocating for this, and yet we see no movement from them for after at least 3 years of asking. We need you to help remove the friction. Make it easy for people and municipalities to get this done. We don't need one perfect solution. We need all of the solutions, whatever shade of green they may be, to make Monroe County climate resilient. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Kastner. I'm a lifelong resident of Monroe County, and I serve on the board of the Rochester Regional Sierra Club. There are many reasons why we must move toward public power. Chief among them, in our view, is that public utilities tend to be more aggressive in building out renewable energy. Not only is it cheaper in the long run, but because it is urgent that we do so. We are living in a climate emergency that compels us to do so. This past summer, over half of all Americans, including residents of Monroe County, were directly affected by this emergency in some way. They were either burnt out, blown out, flooded out, or smoked out of their normal lives. Many did not survive. This emergency is killing Americans now. It is extremely time critical that it will only get worse if we do not quit fossil fuel. God help us if we are willing to hand off to our children a dying world. Shame on us and shame on you. Fund the study, move forward on public power and renewable energy as fast as you can. Literally everything depends on it.
Hello, legislators. I am Ben Taylor. For almost 50 years, I've been a resident of Chili and of our city, either as a child or as a renter. I believe that if we want something done well, we must do it ourselves. And by ourselves, we can provide just green energy. I've heard about an invisible hand in the market that generates ideal outcomes, but the market favors its own. I've seen the outcomes that the market provided my parents. My dad, an optical engineer, worked on new cameras for Kodak, like the disc. Then he invested for his retirement with Pittsburgh Capital. Though they were discovered defrauding retirees, my parents still lost a lot. Today, they live off a Kodak pension. It's a meager living. Now I've seen their recent utility bills from RG&E. $171 in August, then $460 in September. They threatened them with termination when they couldn't pay. They're on fixed income. You can't simply go without power. Public utilities can borrow at about half the cost as a private firm and have preferential access to cheap green energy through the power authority. You can believe that my folks favor a public utility. They deserve at least a study. You, our legislators, must commit $1 million. Include oversight by Metro Justice, labor unions, and climate experts, and base the study on the draft questions from Metro Justice. You have just over 40 days to act before 2023 ends. So fund this study. The people of Rochester, hurt by large and irregular bills and motivated to respond to our climate, they favor a public utility. The city voted to co-fund this study in June. Your participation is the last step. Embody this change to a more just utility by funding and commissioning a study into replacing RG&E. Thank you for your time.
Our next three speakers are Ruth Marchetti, Jim Berger, and Miriam Gonzi.
Good evening. I'm Ruth Marchetti. I live in Penfield. Tonight, I represent the ROCAC's Climate Justice Task Force and RACA, Rochester Area Interfaith Climate Action. Both organizations care deeply about environmental justice. My husband and I are also homeowners who, along with many other members of the community, have had our own struggles with accurate billing that reflects our community solar membership. Public dissatisfaction with RG&E is widespread. Clearly, RG&E has failed to meet the needs of our community with good customer service, affordable rates, and leadership in the transition away from fossil fuels. The state level of government found serious problems with RG&E Avangrid mismanagement. Despite that, the PSC granted them a huge rate hike, creating an even more unbearable energy burden for low and middle income people. When energy is so crucial to the lives of our residents, it is doubtful that a foreign for-profit corporation will be looking out for our best interests. Although RACA and ROCACs have not yet added this campaign to our priorities, we share the concerns about RG&E and are deeply appreciative of Metro Justice leadership and expertise on this issue. At this time, we need to see the results of a feasibility and implementation study before we allocate our own resources to this project. That's exactly why it's time for the county to join the city in taking up its responsibility to fund the study. We need the tools to find the system that will best meet the energy needs of all people in our community while working harder to make housing more energy efficient. A community-owned utility company would have the interests of the people of this region first and foremost in their mission. Public utilities have successfully served their communities in many other cities and municipalities, and can access benefits that are not available to for-profit companies, reducing cost in the long run. I ask the legislature to please vote tonight to allocate the funds. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Berger. I live in the town of Brighton. When I think about my town, my county, state, or country, I believe that these levels of government should doing their best to serve the public, we, the people. It would be great if private corporations had the same mission or priority, but history has shown that this is not the case. In our country, private corporations' first priority is profit. The well-being of the community they serve and the workers they employ comes further down the list. In fact, over the past 40 years, this has gotten worse and worse. The misguided value of greed has exploded the pay of CEOs and only widened the gap between the rich and the poor. And a good example of this, last night on the news, they interviewed the current CEO. Well, I think Jennifer Lemke, I don't quite know her name, but the CEO before the one we have now, got a $135,000 bonus in 2021 as residents were getting crazy bills and having their heat shut off. There's much confusion over the terms capitalism and socialism. Here are some definitions I found. Socialism refers to any system in which the production and distribution of goods and services is a shared responsibility of a group of people. Capitalism is an economic system. In it, the government plays a secondary role. People and companies make most of the decisions and own most of the property. The means of production are largely or entirely privately owned and operated for profit. I hear the thing, please fund this study and let's get public power in Monroe County. Thank you.
My name is Miriam Gans. I live at 11 Covington Road, 14617. Many of you may not remember or even know about the great ice storm of 1991. The power went out very early that Monday morning, all over the county. My mother was 90. My mother-in-law had type 1 diabetes, requiring daily insulin shots and a strict diet. What to do? Salvation came from my two nieces who both lived in Fairport. Fairport Electric was up and running, power all restored before the first day was over. So for the next 8 days, yes, 8 days before our power was restored, 2 grandmothers, 2 parents, and 2 teenagers were warm and dry, eating healthy meals in what seemed like a paradise, but was simply a town with a public utility. Now I am the grandmother, and neither of my nieces have remained in Fairport. Of course, a catastrophic storm like that would never happen again, especially with our stable climate, right? So for me, and for all my fellow seniors not living in Fairport, Churchville, or Spencerport, I'm asking the county legislators to fund the public utility feasibility study before the end of this year. Your grandparents will thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Joanne Kelly, Alan Blair, and Matthew Robinson.
My name is Joanne Kelly. I live in Henrietta. I own my own house. I want to make it clear that I am here with Metro Justice. My story's an 8-year story, so I'm going to sum it up as fast as I can. I purchased my house in 2015 in August. In November 2015, our genie showed up at my house and told me that they were going to chop my tree down. I told them I really liked the tree and I didn't want them to do that. And they told me that it was dangerous, that it was dead and it was going to fall on my house. So I said, okay. In 2016, they put a ribbon around the tree and told me that they were going to remove it. In 2017, they put a ribbon around the tree and told me they were going to remove it. In 2018, they put a ribbon around the tree and again told me they were going to remove it. I called them several times. They said they were behind schedule. So I talked to, in 2019, 3 different tree removal companies, one friends of mine that have been in Rochester for 1 million years. And all 3 of them told me they can't touch it with a 10-foot pole because it's on RG&E's property and it is completely illegal. So that RG&E has to remove it. So of course I called RG&E again and they said they're behind schedule. So I wrote it out. And then in 2022, they sent a letter. They're going to be doing this stuff by the power lines, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, oh, good. They're going to remove the tree. In 2023, they came and they were cutting all the shrubs and stuff around the power lines. And when I asked them if they were going to remove the tree, the guy looked at me and said, they're never removing the tree. They're going to wait for it to fall and then handle the cleanup after. Well, this is a picture of my house 2 days ago. As you can see, the tree is still standing there, still dead, still waiting to fall. That's the garden that I garden in. That's where my dogs run around. I'm actually happy that my daughter has moved out and lives on campus now. And when I look out my bedroom window, that is the tree that I see. I don't think I need to say anything else except for have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening and stay healthy.
Hi, Alan Blair here. I live in the Park Avenue area. You're likely aware that RG&E is celebrating 175 years in Rochester. In fact, I see the shirts here now. Sorry, but that hasn't been true since 2007 when Iberdrola took over. Now it's just a front for a multinational conglomerate. In 2023, RG&E's main job is maximizing return for Iberdrola shareholders. For Monroe County, that means raising rates and cutting services as much as they can get away with. And without real competition, they can get away with a lot. Monopolies don't have to worry about losing market share. RG&E can shove double-digit rates down our throats year after year, and we're stuck. When they cut services down to the bone, who can we turn to? The Public Service Commission is supposed to police them, but it doesn't do a great job, and RG&E is always testing boundaries. Sometimes they win, like when they threatened to shut off late-paying customers during COVID, even though the law said they couldn't. Lots of low-income families had to choose between food and heat that winter. Sometimes they lose, like when they were fined $6 million last June for bad reliability and service. But $6 million here and there, it's just the cost of doing business when you're sucking $100 million out of the service area every year. RG&E knows they can make more money by skirting the regulations, so they're going to keep doing it. Now, RG&E is making a show of improved service lately. Why? It's because of us. Rochester for Energy Democracy. RG&E's corporate masters know they could lose their cash cow if the legislature funds the feasibility study. So they're trying to put a veneer of corporate responsibility on, but don't let it fool you. If our threat recedes, they'll go back to sucking us dry. You, the legislature, can prevent that. Vote yes tonight.
My name is Matthew Robinson. I'm a resident of Arundecoit, and tonight I'm here on behalf of the Parkside Neighborhood Association, the Red Campaign, and my family. I am requesting that the county legislature commit up to $1 million towards an implementation study that explores replacing Iberdrola/Avangrid subsidiary RG&E with a public utility. Over the last year, my wife and I have now spent more than 40 hours on the phone with RG&E trying to address one issue after another. Wild overestimates, discrepancies between the amount on our bills and the amount that RG&E withdraws from our account, overbilling to the tune of more than $10,000 in a single month, multiple shutoff notices, and the list goes on. This is all par for the course with an Avangrid run utility. They have a track record of poor customer service, high rates, and overbilling. Their ultimate goal is not to provide a basic service to our community. It is to maximize profit for their shareholders, and they will do anything to ensure that this happens. When I get a bill for more than $10,000, that's not a mistake. That's the result of a system that has been designed to maximize profit and see what it can get away with. It is delusional of us to expect anything else from a foreign for-profit corporation that has been given a monopoly over the provision of a basic service. It's simply not going to happen. If we want accountability, we need to look elsewhere. And that's what I'm asking the county legislature to do. Please, let's look elsewhere. Let's commit some resources to that search. Let's put $1 million towards an implementation study and see what it would take to replace Avangrid with something more accountable. The city has ponied up, and it's time for us to do the same. Please fund this study.
Our next three public speakers are Adam Penny, Sean Maloney, and Peter Klein.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Adam Henney. I'm a Rochester homeowner in District 27, and of course, an RG&E ratepayer. And I'm here to ask the legislature, like the others, to support funding for the feasibility study to look into replacing RG&E with a public utility. Like everyone here, and I'm pretty sure it is actually everyone, I have had bad experiences with RG&E's unreasonable rates, baffling billing errors, and total absence of customer service. Most specifically, I want to talk about one customer service issue I've been having for the entire year I've owned my home. I've made dozens of phone calls, emails, and one of the pop-up in-person customer service events that they've been having the past year, and I've had zero response. No one has been able to help me with my issue. What I'm looking for, and apparently cannot have, is for the gas line to my home to be removed. I don't have any gas appliances. I never have, and I never will, but there is a gas line into my house that I'm paying $28 a month for. So that's too bad for me, but it's also too bad for everyone else because it indicates the inability of RG&E to rise to the challenge of transitioning to a climate-friendly energy system. Decarbonizing the whole home energy sector is mandatory if New York and the US, if we are going to meet our climate goals. RG&E is not doing that, and they're not going to do it because nobody is going to get rich from doing it. Only a public utility can take on that investment in our collective future. So please take the steps now as the legislature to help us prepare for that future that's coming, whether we're ready for it or not, and vote to fund the study with real involvement from community organizations, from climate scientists, and from union representatives. That's the only path to a just transition, and you get to take a step in that direction tonight. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Peter Klein. I'm a resident in the 19th Ward here in Rochester, New York, just in case anybody was curious. So I'm obviously here in support of the study for a public utility. First, the anecdotal. Why do I want this? Well, I just received a bill from RG&E that doesn't even have the same previous balance on it as the bill I got last month. I mean, how do you get that wrong? You know, we could go on about billing errors. I think you've heard enough about them. High rates. This company puts no money into maintenance and to making our grid at all what we need it to be in the upcoming years. I personally had a power line setting a tree on fire in my backyard and electrifying a metal fence. I called RG&E and was told that they would send somebody out the next day, which is cool because my neighbor's kids, you know, they understand that sort of thing. And so the next day, their contractor came out and told me that it was too dangerous to set foot on my property. So they could do nothing about it. And so through a combination of contacting emergency services and the New York PSC, I was finally able to get somebody to take it seriously and stop electrifying my metal fence via a tree. But I digress. You know, the fact of the matter really comes down to this. This is a changing world. And we're moving away from natural gas. So what are we moving towards? Electricity. I would estimate very safely that in the next probably 30 years, electric will be the most used utility in the average home, second, of course, to water and sewer. Do we trust a private company with a terrible track record to provide that service for us? I mean, I have a medical device, a CPAP machine. My mother has medical devices. I would say many people are going to have one. I mean, there's just everything in your home is going to depend on electricity, and it's going to depend on a company to provide it at a fair rate, safely, and to invest in the things that we need to invest in. That's not RG&E today. Please support this study in its full $1 million amount. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sean Maloney, and I live here in Rochester, New York, not Rochester, Minnesota. And if you guys know, you would know that RG&E doesn't care enough to care about that, whether we're Rochester, New York, or Minnesota, as they sent an email out to their customers with pictures of Rochester, Minnesota, instead of Rochester, New York. And that is what they're going to do, because they don't care about what's going on here. What we need is a local utility that cares about what's going on here. And that's the key to why this local utility will work. We're going to get better rates because they're going to get our money back. They take out $100 million a year out of our community, right? Now we are asking to fund a study, $1 million to get $100 million return on investment a year. If that was for anything else, we would do it in a second. If it was for a new casino, it would be in a second. You know, $1 million, you get $100 million a year. So it's a no-brainer. Tonight, you need to vote to fund this study. And the reason a public utility will be better is because we'll care about the local utility. The people here care about each other, right? And if you have a wire down right now, RG&E might go to another city or send their people to another city first. If you have a wire down when there's local control, we will take care of it here first because it's a local situation. And that's why everyone should vote for this, Republicans and Democrats, because it's a local issue. That used to be what Republicans cared about, was local, you know, local power, local control. That's what this is about. Local control and local power. So you guys need to vote tonight to fund the study, and the study needs to be backed with an advisory council of representatives from the community and union and climate experts. And we look forward to celebrating once you do.
Our next public speakers are Marcus Williams, Jessica Kilpatrick, and Melissa Carlson.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marcus C. Williams, not Marcus Williams. That's somebody else. All right. So I was originally going to speak on something else, but then the energy democracy thing is tonight. So I don't want you guys to give them $1 million to actually go and look into this. This is insane. We could spend $1 million on a lot better initiatives than putting it there. Look at all the people that are overdosing and have issues with drugs. Look at all the poverty and stuff. We're talking about RG&E sucks. Well, yeah, RG&E sucks. I've lived here pretty much all my life. I've got so many issues with them, but we should be taking up those issues with them. But nobody has offered to buy out RG&E, maybe because, well, maybe there's not enough profit there. Maybe that is something that we need to look into before we jump into this. But overall, I'd like to talk about our energy makeup for New York State. 45% of our energy in New York State is natural gas, 45.6, okay? 25% is nuclear, okay? 3% is wind, 1% is solar. We've even got more biomass, which is 3%, okay? And hydro makes 22% of all the energy that we use in New York State. We need to invest money in building a new nuclear facility in Monroe County so we can have the clean energy future that everybody is asking for, so we can actually electrify everything like everybody wants, because wind and solar is just not going to cut it. And we're not being realistic with ourselves by trying to say that it does. Anybody that says otherwise is a liar. Natural gas is great, but we are moving towards the future. Nuclear energy is the way to go. Not only is it affordable, reasonable, the plants, once they are built, start producing money right after that, because they produce a lot of energy, enough energy that we could probably power most of the county, if not all of the county, depending on which model we choose to build. And there's money out there from the federal government and from the state to actually get this done. The state assembly is the people that are responsible for continuing issuing the raises of the rates for RG&E and the rest of the country. State. So we need to recognize it's not just RG&E. The state assembly is at fault here too. I appreciate you guys. Thank you and have a good night.
Hello, I'm Jessica Kilpatrick. I work for Child Protective Services. This is more for the people in the back. I know that you all know who I am. So I'm happy to congratulate the person who shall not be named, that they're going to be here for another 4 years. This is actually after Election Day. Probably the best administration that we've had since I've been here. I will also remind you that we are still in negotiations for the FSW contract. So I will continue to show up within those 4 years to continue to hold the administration accountable. As I also did personally vote for the person who is in charge of the administration. So I like that. I like working for the county, and I like being able to hold my boss accountable. And I think, he likes it too. But I will say that even though we have, I'm speaking about like CPS vacancies, we have had quite a few people incoming, like, I don't know, 120, 140, a whole slew. People are still trickling out the door, just because, as I've spoken about before, it takes 2 years to learn this job. It's a difficult job. And I'm not going to go, much more into that. I'm just hopeful that by, say, April next year, when the HELP grant runs out, that we have, hopefully we're even more like 50% or 60% staffed more than we were the same time last year. Caseloads are down. I can say that we do not have anyone who is above the 30s in the caseload size. So that is encouraging, because, it is better to have caseloads, between 12 and 15 is what the state says, but okay. But 30 is much better than 60. And that's where we were in the spring. Okay. So I'm going to continue to hold everybody accountable, and I'm going to continue to speak. I know you missed me last month, but I should be here in December. So thank you.
Our next two speakers are Cheryl Frank and Vernon Kane.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Cheryl Frank. I'm Associate Pastor at Greece Baptist Church. I'm also president of Color Bright and Green. I'm asking the legislature to investigate turning RG&E into a public utility, which will create local economic investment and jobs, and improve financial benefits, local control, affordability, and reliability. Please allocate up to $1 million for an implementation study. We need community representation, expertise, and oversight of this process. An investor-owned multinational corporate utility whose sole goal is to extract as much profit as possible from our region will never be in line with our community's interest. The community is hurting. We need affordable and clean energy. As elected officials, I ask you to please take responsibility and to study it. We need a solution that benefits people and the long-term economic and social development of our whole region. There's widespread community support for investigating an alternative to RG&E. The money is there. There are maybe $22 million of unallocated funds that the county is sitting on. Public utilities are cheaper because they're not for profit. That's $100 million a year that won't leave our region to a multinational corporation, but can be reinvested in lowering rates, investment in infrastructure, local jobs, and more sustainable grid. A public utility can borrow at half the cost of an investor-owned one, making all investments cheaper for us all. In New York State, public utilities have preferential access to cheap renewable energy through the New York Power Authority, which just expanded through the passage of the Build Public Renewables Act. Public utilities invest 33% more into their local communities than investor-owned utilities. With a public utility, we would guarantee all current jobs and benefits and bring back many jobs that have been outsourced or moved to contract work, and make sure they're union-based and have a huge opportunity for new jobs through energy efficient investments and workforce development. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we will recess the November 14th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and we will convene the Rochester Pure Waters District, the Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, and Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District of the Pure Waters Administrative Board. If there are no objections regarding referrals 23-0321, 23-0323, we will move to adopt all four districts with one vote. The clerk will see to it that individual motions and resolution numbers are assigned to each. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWeb agenda items numbers 1, 8, 15, and 21. Referral 23-0321, authorizing contracts with Atlantic Testing Laboratories and CME Associates for material testing term services.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. If there are no objections, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Now, if there are no objections relating to 23-0352 for the purpose of scheduling a public hearing. That's not on mine. 23-0323.
There you go. Yep. PWeb agenda item numbers 2, 9, 16, and 22. Referral 23-0323, authorizing a contract with Paradigm Environmental Services and Atlantic Testing Laboratories for professional environmental testing term services.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. If there are no objections relating to 23-0352 for the purpose of scheduling a public hearing on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 before the Pure Waters Administrative Board and establishing a scale of charges for each district, we will move this with one introductory, table all districts with one vote, and fix public hearing for each district with one vote. The clerk will see to it that the individual motion and resolution numbers are assigned to each. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWeb agenda item numbers 5, 12, 18, and 24. Referral 23-0352, establishing scale of charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District of County of Monroe, New York. Establishing scale of charges for Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District of County of Monroe, New York. Establishing scale of charges for Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District of County of Monroe, New York, and establishing scale of charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to adopt all four districts. Is there any discussion?
This is for introductory purposes only.
That's not what my agenda. Yep, this is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
PWeb agenda items numbers 6, 13, 19, and 25. Referral number 23-0352, providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Rondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York, and providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York, be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is the table for all 4 districts. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda items numbers 7, 14, 20, and 26. Referral number 23-0352, fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Rondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing for all 4 districts. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda item number 3, referral 23-0346, authorizing an increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District, general collection system and treatment plant improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, second by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, PWeb agenda item number 4, referral 23-0348, authorizing an increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District, Genesee Valley Pump Station.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda item number 10, referral 23-0344, authorizing intermunicipal agreement between the Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District and the town of Charlie for conveyance and treatment of sewage.
Moved by Legislator John, second by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 23-0327, authorizing an increase in improvement of facilities in Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, general collection system improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda item number 17, referral 23-0350, authorizing an increase in improvement of facilities in Rondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, general pump station and interceptor improvements.
Moved by Legislator Johns and seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda item number 23, referral 23-0342, authorizing an increase in improvement of facilities in Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, general pump station, interceptor, and treatment plant improvements project.
Moved by Legislator Johns and seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and Rochester Pure Waters District, and adjourn to the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The November 14th, 2022 meeting of the legislature is reconvened. We will do our 5-minute recess. Everybody in their seat? We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number one, referral 23-0326.LL, enacting a local law entitled Uniform Code Enforcement.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Brew. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number two, referral 23-0326.LL, providing that local law entitled enacting a local law entitled Uniform Code Enforcement be tabled.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Brew. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number three, referral 23-0326.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled enacting a local law entitled Uniform Code Enforcement.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Brew. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number four, referral 23-0353.LL, enacting a local law entitled authorizing a lease by negotiation with 150 Bellwood Drive for use and occupancy of space at 150 Bellwood Drive, Town of Greece, New York.
Moved by Legislator Dondorfer, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number five, referral 23-0353.LL, providing that local law entitled authorizing a lease by negotiation with 150 Bellwood Drive LLC for use and occupancy of space at 150 Bellwood Drive, Town of Greece, New York, be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Dondorfer, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number six, referral 23-0353.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled authorizing a lease by negotiation with 150 Bellwood Drive LLC for use and occupancy of space at 150 Bellwood Drive, Town of Greece, New York.
Moved by Legislator Dondorfer, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number seven, referral 23-0309, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with City of Rochester supporting the development of arts and cultural plan for City of Rochester and Monroe County.
Moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislators Alcoffer and Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We need a roll call vote?
We'll do a roll call. The
Just
two?
two?
Oh, it was Legislator Keller and Legislator McCabe. Got it. 27-2 passes.
Next item.
Item number eight, referral 23-0310, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with Town of Henrietta, transferring ownership of town-owned land to Monroe County.
Moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. I rise to explain my vote. During the committee hearings on this particular referral, myself and other legislators asked a number of questions with regard to the transfer of ownership of this property and didn't really receive much back except a map of the property from the administration. I also did not hear any real compelling reasons why the citizens of Monroe County should be accepting this land and taking on the debt that would come into the future for taking on this ownership. So I will be voting no.
Madam President, I move to table this item based on.
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Legislator Hebert.
We have a motion to table referral 23-0310, moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio.
Is there any discussion?
No, there's no discussion. All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call vote on the motion to table. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Roman? Ms. Roman votes no. Mr. Alcoffer? Mr. Alcoffer votes no. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes no. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley? Mr. Blankley votes no. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes no. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Delahaney? Mr. Delahaney votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes no. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier votes no. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman votes no. Mr. Hebert? Mr. Hebert votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith? Ms. Hughes Smith votes no. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes no. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Missoula? Missoula votes no. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes no. Ms. Smith? Smith votes no. Ms. Taylor? Taylor votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson? Udelson votes yes. President Lamar?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Udelson votes no. President Lamar?
No.
President Lamar votes no. 5-24, motion to table fails.
Back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion on it? Go ahead, Legislator Udelson.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, I just want to add to the record that, first of all, this is going to be developed as a passive park, so that should have very little in terms of annual upkeep costs. And as far as the cost being borne by county taxpayers, I'll just state also for the record that this will be the first county park in the town of Henrietta, and very much appreciated by the citizens of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Baines, did you have your hand raised? Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Roll call vote.
Roll call vote on the main motion. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Roman? Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer? Mr. Alcoffer votes yes. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley? Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Delahaney? Mr. Delahaney votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert? Mr. Hebert votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith? Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Missoula? Mr. Missoula votes yes. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes yes. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Taylor? Taylor votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson? Mr. Udelson votes yes. President Lamar?
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 24-5, resolution passes.
Next item on the agenda.
Item number 9, referral 23-0311, amending 2023-2028 capital improvement program and the 2023 capital budget to add a project entitled Henrietta County Park Master Plan improvements and authorizing interfund transfer.
Moved by Legislator Johns, seconded by Legislator Alcalfer and Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Roll call vote.
Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Delahanty. Mr. Delahanty votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Masula. Mr. Masula votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 24-5, resolution passes.
Next item. Oh, I'm sorry, Legislator Brew, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move items 10 through 32 as a whole, with the exception of items 16, 30, and 31, and also including all of the remaining MOUs.
All in favor?
Oh, hang on.
Go ahead, Legislator. Yes. You got that? And Legislator Brew, you said, with the exception of items number 16, 30, and 31? And then
Yes, I have moving items 10 through 32, except item numbers 16, 30, and 31. I have that moved by Legislator Brew and seconded by Legislator Roman.
all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 16.
Item number 16, referral 23-0318, authorizing contract with Metrics Marketing for implementation of employment recruitment and retention and advertising campaign.
Moved by Legislator Keller, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Barnhart.
Thank you, Madam President. I made an appointment to look at Metrics Marketing's response to this RFP, the only one that we received. And according to their response, Monroe County accounts for most of their gross revenue. The response says that they have contracts with DHS for foster care recruitment going back to 2002, the Water Authority going back to 2009, and employee recruitment for DHS going back to 2018. Metrics Marketing is embedded in Monroe County, suggesting this is either a really dynamite firm or the county has gotten complacent in administering marketing contracts. Getting only one response back for this RFP to the contract we are voting on tonight, that's always a red flag when there are a lot of advertising firms in Rochester and across upstate New York. Another big red flag is that the administration could not tell us if Metrics Marketing was even doing a good job, despite these many years of work. In fact, the firm's performance was questionable enough that finance suggested communications take over the management of the vendor, and now there will be all new KPIs. It's entirely appropriate and necessary that after 1 year, the administration come back to the legislature to let us know if this new model of oversight is working and to ask us for approval to extend their work. Therefore, I would like to move to amend this legislation to limit this contract to 1 year and remove the 4 options to renew. Staff has printed copies and is handing them out to you.
Is there a second?
Seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Given the. give him-
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none? Roll call vote on the amendment?
Roll call vote on the amendment. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer votes no. Ms. Barnhart.
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Delahanty. Mr. Delahanty votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Masula. Mr. Masula votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes no. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 16-13, amendment passes.
Back to the main motion. Roll call vote as amended. I'm sorry, is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote as amended.
On the main motion as amended. Mr. Brew. Brew votes no. Ms. Roman. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Delahanty. Mr. Delahanty votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Masula. Mr. Masula votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 27-2, resolution passes as amended.
Next item.
Item number 30, referral 23-0339, amending 2023-2028 capital improvement program to add a project entitled Aldrich Road Sidewalks, authorizing appropriation and transferring of committed fund balance, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with Town of Perrington for sidewalk installation in conjunction with the Aldrich Road Culvert Project.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Hebert and Johns. Is there any discussion? Legislator Delahanty?
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote. This legislation is special to me as it is the final step in making a local neighborhood dreams a reality. Last year, I received a petition from neighbors along Aldrich Road in the town of Perrington who for years have sought a sidewalk. Together, they signed on to a letter primarily penned by one family. In this family, their child is physically disabled and wheelchair bound. And as a result, this meant that their family could not go and enjoy a nearby park like the rest of the family due to the lack of a sidewalk. This story and all the support really moved me, and I immediately began working with County Executive Bello, Perrington Town Supervisor Kieran Hanna, and fellow Perrington legislator John Baines to move this project forward. As a result of these discussions, a few weeks ago, I was excited to see the approval of the town sidewalk incentive programs to help towns in situations like these deliver more sidewalks to our residents. Tonight, we see the first pilot of this program come to light, and I am so immensely grateful to its start right here in Perrington and on Aldrich Road. I cannot wait to see all the neighbors enjoying the sidewalk and all of our families enjoying our beautiful parks and green spaces. Thank you to all who made this a reality. When we work together, we can truly do amazing things for our community. I will be voting yes. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 31, referral 23-0339.BR. Resolution authorizing the issuance of $1,300,000 bonds of the County of Monroe, New York to finance the cost of the construction of Aldrich Road sidewalks in and for said county at an estimated maximum cost of $1,300,000.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislators Hebert and Johns. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Baines.
Brett asking that this come up on the agenda, so we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Baines. Is there any other true discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
We should be on item number 33. Referral 23-0341, approving increase and improvement of facilities in Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, General Pump Station Interceptor, and Treatment Plant Improvements.
Moved by Legislator Johns, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 34, referral 23-0341, providing that resolution entitled approving increase and improvement of facilities in Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, General Pump Station Interceptor, and Treatment Plant Improvements be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Johns, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 35, referral 23-0341, calling a public hearing for the purpose of considering a proposed increase and improvement of facilities in Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, General Pump Station Interceptor, and Treatment Plant Improvements.
Moved by Legislators John and seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 36, referral 23-0343, approving increase and improvement of facilities in Gates Child Ogden Sewer District, General Collection System Improvements.
Moved by Legislators John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 37, referral 23-0343, providing that resolution entitled approving increase in improvement of facilities in Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District General Collection System improvements be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is the table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 23-0343, calling a public hearing for the purpose of considering a proposed increase and improvement of facilities in Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District General Collection System improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 39, referral 23-0345, approving increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District General Collection System and Treatment Plant improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 40, referral 23-0345, providing that resolution entitled approving increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District General Collection System and Treatment Plant improvements be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 41, referral 23-0345, calling a public hearing for the purpose of considering a proposed increase and improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District General Collection System improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 42, referral 23-0347, approving increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District Genesee Valley Pump Station.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 43, referral 23-0347, providing that resolution entitled approving increase in improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District Genesee Valley Pump Station be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 44, referral 23-0347, calling a public hearing for the purpose of considering a proposed increase and improvement of facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District Genesee Valley Pump Station.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 45, referral 23-0349, approving increase in improvement of facilities in Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District General Pump Station and Interceptor improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor?
This is the intro. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 45 is the intro.
Okay, this is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Here we go. Item number 46, referral 23-0349, providing that resolution entitled approving increase in improvement of facilities in Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District General Pump Station and Interceptor improvements be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 47, referral 23-0349, calling a public hearing for the purpose of considering a proposed increase and improvement of facilities in Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District General Pump Station and Interceptor improvements.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 48, referral 23-0351, confirming and adopting assessment roles of Pure Waters districts for 2024 and confirmation of and adoption of assessment roles.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 49, referral 23-0351, providing that resolution entitled confirming and adopting assessment roles of Pure Waters districts for 2024 be tabled.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any,
This is the table.
this is the table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? This item carries. Next item.
Item number 50, referral 23-0351, scheduling public hearings for assessment roles of Pure Waters districts for 2024 and confirmation and adoption of assessment roles.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 51, referral 23-0353, amending the 2023-2028 capital improvement program and the 2023 capital budget to add a project entitled REOC Leasehold Improvements and authorizing appropriation and transfer fund balance.
Moved by Legislator Dondorfer, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? It's just the one.
Legislator Hugh Smith and Legislator DeVecchia Hoffman. 27-2, resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 52, referral 23-0354, authorizing interfund transfer to establish project replacement of voting machines.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Legislator Barnhart, go ahead.
Through the president to the administration, I apologize, I missed the demonstrations of these machines. I'm just verifying that there is a paper record that is produced when people vote on these machines.
Madam President, there we go. Through you, Madam President. Yes, there is a paper record, and we do have a machine in our office right now that you're welcome to come down and see anytime.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Nay. Legislator Vasquez Simmons voted no. 28-1, resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 53, referral 23-0354.BR, resolution authorizing the issuance of $11 million of bonds of the County of Monroe, New York to finance costs of replacement of voting machines in and for said county at an estimated maximum cost of $12 million and superseding the bond resolution adopted on October 11, 2022, resolution number 2295 of 2022 as amended.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Legislator Vasquez Simmons also voted in the negative on that. 28-1, resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 54, referral number 23-0355, adoption of 2024 Monroe County budget and establishing 2024 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 55, referral 23-0355, adoption of 2024. providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2024 Monroe County Budget and establishing 2024 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees be tabled.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 56, referral 23-0355, fixing public hearing on county executives proposed 2024 Monroe County budget.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 57, referral 23-0356, allocation of funding to study the feasibility of a publicly owned utility in Monroe County.
This was substituted to correct some clerical errors, and it is reflected in Novus agenda. Is there a mover? Moved by legislator Roman, seconded by legislators Hoffman and legislator Barnhart
I also had legislator Hugh Smith.
and legislator Hugh Smith.
And we do have hard copies of the updated resolution. There was a clerical error and it had been updated on Novus as of the beginning of the meeting. But there are hard copies if anybody needs them to look at.
Is there any discussion? Oh, you want to wait to get it? Okay.
I got you. Yep, noted.
Now, is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Johns.
Yeah, Madam President, is it appropriate time to explain my vote?
Yes.
Okay. I think we'd all want a unbiased opinion of what we're about to take on tonight. But I have a few questions that I think should be discussed maybe even before we get to that point. First of all, is this even allowed by the county charter? I'm not exactly sure. I know the county executive has a legal team, but the opinion is, or I'm not sure if the opinion is that we can actually buy a private utility. That would be the first question I would like to have.
Legislator Johns, is that a question to the administration or are you
The
explaining your
rhetorical
vote?
questions that I would like to.
Okay.
No, it is not a direct question. It's not through you to the administration.
Okay.
But RG&E, second question I would have is RG&E is more than just in Monroe County. It's in 9 counties, has gas and electric. What share of RG&E are we going to be buying? I don't think that's been defined yet. There's no more cheap hydroelectric power coming from Niagara power plants. There's a limited supply of hydropower that would be available at these reduced rates like Fairport Electric used to have in the past. Will this be put to a county-wide vote for a referendum? Is that legal? They just had a referendum up in the state of Maine. It was voted down. This same type of situation was voted down 61 to 39%. Avangard, ticker symbol AGR on the stock market, is sold between $27 and $45 a share. When a buyout starts, that price is going to go up. That price is going to go up for the county taxpayers in Monroe County that are going to have to foot that bill. Interest rates are more than double what they were 2 years ago. The cost of borrowing money to buy that part of RG&E that we want is more than doubled what it was 2 years ago when this discussion first came up. There's a lot of people that are gonna like this. The Wall Street investors, the hedge fund managers, they're gonna make billions of dollars because when a company is bought out, it sends the price up. Down on Long Island, there was LIPA, Long Island Power Authority. It promised when they were gonna buy it out that it was gonna be 20% less electric cost. Right now, it's 15% above the state average. And the state average is way above the country's average. Now, we don't have referendum in New York State, and maybe that's something that we should push for. Maybe the state should be talking about this funding, but the state doesn't have referendum. Albany is so scared that maybe the people would put up term limits or something. They don't want to actually have they want to have the people actually vote on it. But it's a good idea. If it is a good idea, why doesn't the state legislature come up with the funding and then put it on a referendum on the back of the ballot like everybody else does? We are allowed to vote on other bonding issues. So a referendum vote is possibly a good idea. Who will do the study? $1 million coming from the county, $500,000 from the city. Who's going to do that study? I mean, it's going to go to a law firm, an accounting firm, an engineering firm. They're going to make a lot of money off it. And when you go to do polling, you generally go to a firm that's going to give you the results that you want in advance. Is it going to be a neutral study that we can all rely on? So we're going to say that we put out an RFP and we're going to go to the lowest bidder. But we just passed a couple of months ago. We don't always go to the lowest bidder. We go to the best value. What's the best value going to be? The company that's going to give us the result that we want? So I think these questions should be answered in advance before we take a vote like this. And thank you, Madam Speaker, Madam President, for allowing me to explain my vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Legislator Johns. Go ahead, Legislator Woman.
This day and age, it's a necessity. And if we question that for 1 minute, I challenge each of us to sleep with our heat off tonight. Furthermore, I can tell you that I have heard Furthermore, I can tell you that we have not heard more advocacy on a singular issue or need in our community than this particular item. Without a doubt, we have heard from individuals at every corner of this county. I have done a ton of research, spent countless hours on this issue, and one thing I have realized is that none of us are experts in this field. And therefore, we should allow experts the opportunity to look into this community and determine what is best for us and our constituents in Monroe County. To my colleagues who have not taken the time to meet with constituents or respond to advocates on this, as you heard today, we in fact still have time. This is just the first step. Because of this and so much more, I'll be voting in the affirmative and look forward to working collaboratively for a study to see if a public utility is the best option for our community. Tonight, we were told our grandparents will thank us for this, but for me, my vote for this feasibility study is really tied to what might be best for our grandchildren. So let's pass this first step tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Legislator Bowman. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Baines.
I'd like to explain my vote. May I sit so you can hear me through the mic?
That's fine.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
I represent Parrington. We have public power. I'm going to be representing the Village of Fairport, which is responsible for the development of Fairport Municipal. I'm a believer in public power. And I'm going to be voting yes on this study when it's brought forward to this body without a couple hours of notice. I was interested to hear the county executive's comments about not supporting this and He just got elected. In fact, that was interesting, 61-39. I think that was that you quoted their colleague legislator Johns. I think that was the same margin by which he was reelected, and he came out against it. And that's up to him, but you know, I'm a legislator. I don't work for the county executive. But I'd like an opportunity to talk to him. And I had no opportunity to do that, to see if we can't get the administration and the legislative body on the same page, because this was a memorandum of urgency, or a matter of urgency that we didn't have the opportunity to reflect on. So I'm going to vote yes when we've had an opportunity to go through regular order, bring in the community, and I'd love to send my friends from Metro Justice home happy. They're going to go happy eventually, but I don't respond to pressure. I think we should do this in a thoughtful and deliberative way, and for that reason, I will be voting no on the motion. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Hughesman.
I'd just like to explain my vote. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. Our climate has been destabilized. Continuing the status quo has serious and far-reaching geopolitical, economic, and human health consequences. We owe it to the young adults and children in this world to do what we can do to reverse direction. There will be no stable future without an end to the use of fossil fuels. The very least we can do is fund a study to explore an alternative to a system that is aggravating the crisis. I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Go ahead. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Legislator Brew.
First, let me acknowledge there are legitimate issues with RG&E that must be addressed. I'm glad that they have recently taken steps to do so, but there's still much more work to be done. However, dissolving a private company for the government to come in and save the day is certainly not the answer. In the words of Ronald Reagan, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Government can't even fix our potholes. Now we are moving forward, having them run our home energy. It makes no sense. This $1 million allocation up for a vote is the first step in a long, costly, and dim path. Our families are struggling to pay for food, clothes, and everyday items. A public utility would only drive up another cost for our families. On top of that, a public utility would mean even higher taxes, lesser service. Wait times may need improvement, but RG&E, I bet, 60% of the time of local government officials never pick up the phone. I'm sure that the RG&E would be doing something similar, but if not better than that. This, on top of the possibility of displacing workers, harming currently existing public utilities like Fairport, Churchville, Spencerport Electric, having your energy controlled by politicians and bureaucrats, and yet another layer of government in all of our lines. This is just a recipe for disaster in all aspects. A recipe for disaster that may not even have the legal authority to do so, as it seeks to take over a private company that does not cover all of Monroe County and also extends outside of the county. In fact, RG&E serves 9 counties outside of Monroe County. The vast service area supplies power to $1.2 million customers and 580,000 natural gas customers. I believe the supporters of the government takeover in RG&E have overlooked the G in RG&E. In summary, this referral reeks of higher costs, higher taxes, lesser service, legal issues, and a socialized public utility controlled by the government. I could not be more opposed, and I will proudly be voting no, and I encourage every moderate member of this honorable body who cares about taxpayers, our neighbors, and the future of this county to join me in opposing this step towards disaster. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Vice President McKay.
Baines, we've been hearing about this for almost a year. And now it's a matter of urgency. Right after Election Day, this becomes a matter of urgency. I have significant reservations with that. It should have been brought to us. It should have went through the process, as Legislator Baines says, and being brought in this way, I think is absolutely wrong for this body. I also have my biggest concern, or a couple of my bigger concerns. Our Genie employees, over 800 families in this area. 800 employees work for our Genie. A public utility, they're not going to be guaranteed jobs. There's going to be other jobs. There may be civil service exams. There's going to be things. People are going to lose their jobs. The uncertainty that this is going to create in those families, I think, is horrible for this body to make. Also, everybody seems to be neglecting the millions and millions of dollars that our Genie pays into this county's tax system. How's that money going to be made up? Where's that money going to come from? We may save money with a public utility and utility costs, but the millions of tax dollars, because a public-owned utility doesn't pay taxes. That's a significant amount. There's so much narrative with this that hasn't been thought through. I think the $1 million study is a waste of money. There's other priorities in this county we should be looking at. I mean, all of us that were out campaigning, every person in this room that campaigned over the last several months heard about public safety. Public safety in some capacity was one of the biggest concerns we all heard. But yet we have an ambulance crisis in this county. Let's spend $1 million and look at our ambulance service in this county. We have a lot bigger problems than figuring out our Genie right now. And a public funded utility isn't the answer. It hasn't been successful in a lot of places, and it continues to be a problem. And I don't think it's right for this county. So I'm going to strongly vote no for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Legislator Udelson.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to also explain my vote. I want to first recognize the efforts and passions of Metro Justice and the other supporters of this concept. They've provided me with an awful lot of information, but I still have several questions. There's no doubt that RG has failed this community. I hope to be able to vote for a study at some point and to continue this discussion. The problem I have with this referral tonight is that normally this would go through the committee process for closer examination before voting on a referral. And in this case, it's a referral that we're just seeing in the past few hours. No reason that any legislator who supports this couldn't have submitted this at any point prior. And there's no reason now that it's a matter of urgency necessitating that we skip the committee process. So I look forward to continuing the discussion and arriving at the decision that's best for the community. Thank you.
Go ahead, Legislator Mafucci.
Thank you, Madam President. I also will explain my vote. And I do look at this a little differently. I've been in the legislature now for 6 years, and I've seen some items that do not go through regular order that are troubling. I see no reason why this important issue cannot go through the regular order process. Appropriate committees before consideration for the legislature. So I also will be voting no.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Go ahead, go ahead.
I represent one of the poorest districts. And this is such a, we heard tonight that we have so many. If you're living in poverty, bringing your energy bills down, priority, and poverty, getting an energy bill correct and not being able to quickly rectify that is a huge priority. Pressure that is caused by
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to explain my vote. I will be voting no on this. Important to understand why. All of the speakers passionate, actually appreciated the fact that they spoke different words, not all reading the same script. Clear that all of the supporting speakers clearly expect this to be approved as a result of a study. I've done a little bit of work on my own. I'm known for that kind of. And my caucus laughs because they get tired of listening to me, as do you, Madam President, in all likelihood. The fact of the matter is that in the last publication, making private utility public took 12 years. So while I agree that it'd be nice to have something good to give our constituents, even if successful, we're talking something maybe 25, maybe 2040. I'll probably be dead by then. But I can afford my utility bills, to be honest, so nobody will care. Prior to this, I've received a couple hundred emails in my legislator Hebert inbox, and I checked each one of them to make sure it was actually a constituent that lived within my 35,000 person district. How many were actually in my district? One. The second person I heard speak from Penfield, and she might be in Dondorfer's district, legislator Dondorfer's district, I'm not. The rest of them all came from the city. Supports this, I would encourage them to consider taking a public utility within the city of Rochester, because that's where the vast majority of those 200 emails. 5 of them, I got a little. Some of our speakers, my view is government isn't really great at an awful lot of things. One of our speakers said, for example, that the Public Service Commission isn't very good at regulating RG&E. And I would agree with that, but isn't the Public Service Commission a government entity? Why do you expect a Monroe County government, which has less than 1/2 of 1%, state government, to do it? I could go on, but I think I got the general ideas across. I don't see how this actually saves money anytime soon. One of the speakers says that this will save money in the long run. That's a quote. And in the meantime, who pays in the long run, in the short run? All of our constituents.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Delahanty. Mr. Delahanty votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Masula. Mr. Masula votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes no. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 12-17, resolution fails.
There being no unfinished business, This meeting stands adjourned. This meeting stands adjourned.